All right, let's dive into this because it's a move that on the surface might seem like just another roster shuffle, but personally, I think it's a lot more interesting than that. The Mariners placing Luke Raley on the 10-day IL with a left forearm strain, retroactive to July 31st, by the way, and calling up Stuart Fairchild from AAA. There's a lot to unpack here, and it's not just about the injury report. What makes this really interesting is the timing and the broader implications for the Mariners, who are in the middle of what feels like a season-defining stretch. First off, Luke Raley's injury. From my perspective, this isn't just a random strain. The guy's been dealing with elbow discomfort for a while, and it shows in his numbers. I mean, think about it. He was crushing it earlier in the season, hitting .280 with 13 homers in his first 166 plate appearances. But then, over the last 2 months, his OPS drops to .441. That's a massive decline. What many people don't realize is that injuries like these often aren't just physical. They're mental too. When you're playing through pain, it messes with your timing, your confidence, everything. So, while it's easy to say, oh, he's just in a slump, there's probably a lot more going on under the surface. Now, the worst-case scenario here is terrifying. If Raley's been playing through this pain for too long, we could be looking at something season-ending, like Tommy John surgery. That's not just a blow to the Mariners lineup. It's a huge personal setback for Raley, who's been trying to establish himself as a consistent major league player. If you take a step back and think about it, this could be a turning point in his career. Will he come back stronger, or will this be a setback he can't fully recover from? It's a question that raises a deeper issue about how teams handle player health and when to shut guys down. And let's talk about Stuart Fairchild for a second. He's not exactly a household name, but he's a guy who can play all 3 outfield positions and has some speed. Still, his offensive numbers aren't exactly eye-popping. A .565 OPS with the Guardians earlier this season? That's not going to light up any scoreboards. But here's the thing. The Mariners aren't looking for a superstar right now. They need a body, someone who can fill in and not completely tank the lineup. Fairchild fits that bill. What this really suggests is that Seattle is in survival mode. They're patching holes just to get through the season, which brings me to my next point. The Mariners are in a rough spot right now. They've gone 6-14 in their last 20 games, and they just lost J.P. Crawford to the IL too. That's 2 key players down in quick succession. If you ask me, this team is starting to look like they're leaning towards selling at the deadline. I mean, they've already been rumored to be open to discussing guys like George Kirby in trades. This isn't just a bad stretch. It's a potential turning point for the franchise. Are they going to try to salvage this season, or are they going to start looking toward the future? Personally, I think the latter is more likely, and moves like calling up Fairchild instead of making a bigger splash feel like they're playing it safe, maybe too safe. One thing that immediately stands out is how this all ties into the bigger picture of roster management. Teams have to balance keeping players healthy with the pressure to win now. Raley's situation is a perfect example of what happens when that balance tips too far toward winning. And Fairchild's call-up? It's a reminder that sometimes you just need someone to fill a spot, even if they're not going to be a game changer. What this really suggests is that the Mariners are in a transitional phase, and how they handle these next few weeks could define their direction for years to come. So here's my closing thought. Injuries and roster moves like these aren't just about the players involved. They're about the decisions teams make, the pressures they're under, and the direction they're heading. The Mariners are at a crossroads, and how they navigate this stretch will tell us a lot about where they see themselves in the league. Are they contenders, or are they rebuilding? Personally, I think we're about to find out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.